Hi everyone, my name is Alana. Firstly, thank you so much for joining us for tonight's webinar. This one is the second edition for the year for the Career Toolkit webinar series. Tonight we're going to be talking about the introduction to the importance of soft skills. In my opinion, this is probably the most important one, so thank you for joining us. We'll kick off with a quick acknowledgement of country. So in the spirit of reconciliation, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we gather from today and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Now, as mentioned, my name's Alana. I'm the Partner Success Manager at ACS. My kind of role here is engaging and supporting all our student and graduate members. So hopefully you may have seen my face around. If you do have any questions about your membership, want to know more about ACS, you haven't yet joined our online community groups, please feel free to reach out to me either on LinkedIn or via email, and those details will be in the post-event email. So touching on housekeeping, now please note that your microphone and video are disabled for this webinar. Now I apologise, I know it's wonderful to be able to ask questions directly, but just for privacy reasons, we are recording this event. So we just want to protect your name and details in the recording that gets circulated wider after. Please use the Q&A function at the top in your toolbar to ask any questions throughout the session. We're joined today by the wonderful Mel, and I'll touch more on her background in a moment, but we'll kind of ask the questions throughout the presentation, or we might leave them towards the end. So feel free to pop them in the Q&A box. Use the chat function more if you have questions or you're troubleshooting, and Mark will fix those in the back end for you as well. If you have any questions that weren't answered during the presentation, feel free to email us afterwards, and we're happy to kind of follow those ones up for you as well. You'll see the email address there, acsstudent@acs.org.au. If you are having any issues, sound issues, can't see the slides, feel free to pop an email through to that email address with some screenshots and we can look into that for you. Please note it is being recorded and it will be circulated to you. So if you do miss out, just know that you'll get the recording in a few weeks' time. Now, note there will be a post-event email will be circulated, and we're so lucky to have Mel's details included. Unfortunately, she doesn't have LinkedIn, but she's kindly shared her email address, which is lovely. So we'll pop that in the post-event email and you can get in touch with her directly as well. Now, we will submit your CPD points after the event. So just to note, to collect them, you do need to attend for the whole duration of tonight's webinar, and we will automatically allocate them to your ACS account the next week or so. If you do have any questions with your CPD points, or if you drop off and drop back on and get back on again and you're concerned, again, feel free to pop an email through to that ACS student and we'll look into that for you as well. Wonderful. Now I'd like to introduce the lovely Mel, and she should be online then. Wonderful.
Afternoon, everybody. How are you all?
Good, thank you. So Mel is the technical competency, I should have practiced this one, development lead at Northrop Grumman, and has such a wonderful role. I know, Mel, I've been lucky enough to meet with you a few times and I learned so much from you, and I think your role at your workplace is so valuable. So thank you so much for being part of tonight. We really appreciate your insights and advice.
It is my pleasure, Alana. It's my pleasure.
Wonderful. So if you're happy to do a quick bit of an introduction to your kind of career and your role, and a little bit about where you fit into this space in tech.
Sure. Thank you, Alana. So I've had 35 years in the work industry and all in the same industry. I've been in aviation and predominantly defence the whole time. So straight out of high school, straight into a trade, and that's where I started as a mechanic. And I have been in several places around Australia on lots of different programs in and out of the defence, which you'll see inside of my bio that Alana and Mark has distributed. And now I find myself in the last 10 years in leadership roles. And that's really where I have found my niche in the world. People is where my passion lays. So these soft skills is really, really important for a person as an individual leader, and as well as a leader of people. So that's what You know, I sit out here in a position where I identify and work with people that are having issues with their soft skills, with their technical skills, and develop them through their own journey to ensure that they are working as a team.
Wonderful. And that leads into this great topic for tonight. So, soft skills, you'll hear quite often in when you're kind of networking with industry or applying for roles, this terminology, soft skills, and it's so valuable and important in the tech industry at the moment. So, Mel, what is your definition of soft skills and how are they different to tech skills?
So your soft skills are your personal attributes. So they're the things that you can control: what you say, how you say it, and when you say it. You know, they include your language skills, your cognitive or your emotional empathy, and most importantly, believe it or not, is time management.
Mm, that's definitely one of the top most important ones
Yeah.
there.
So the difference between your soft skills, obviously, and your tech skills are things that you learn, and your soft skills are things that you hold. They're already things that you have, you just don't know how to apply them yet.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I guess like why are they so important when it does come to your career?
So the importance of it in your career is without that communication and that time management and being able to have that control, you can't get that communication across of what you're doing. So you could be the smartest person in the room, yet not be able to communicate with others that you've done this wonderful piece of project, or you are unable to get your time management in place so you can accomplish that wonderful technical brain of yours to get the outcome that your customer desires.
It's so true. And what do you think why are employers looking for these soft skills when they're hiring? Like why are they putting such a big emphasis on it at the moment?
Because it makes for highly effective teams. Highly effective teams have highly effective outputs, which is what the customers need and what what I should say, businesses are after, because it's more efficiency. They get more money. It's more profitable. So to have a highly effective team, you need people that communicate well together, that have the emotional intelligence to understand what the other person is doing without actually going, "Hey, mate, what are you doing?" You know, you understand already what they're doing and what they're sometimes thinking by having that empathy and actually knowing what's going on, but also that going back again to that time management. Time management is really important soft skill to have, and understanding on what the priorities are, and then going, okay, I need to have this step done by this step by this time, and this step done by this time, and then communicating that. And I'll
Mm.
emphasize communication. When you think you've communicated enough, communicate again, because it's never enough.
That's so true. And to talk about the feedback we're getting from industry. So, when it comes to submitting your resume and things, it's wonderful to have your degree or your diploma or your certificates behind you. But they're also looking for those people and soft skills to really ensure that you're a great fit for the team, like Mel said, that you're great with their clients, but also contributing to the work culture. We're finding that they're looking for someone who can fit well, and I think it really comes from COVID. I think COVID really taught us how important it is to have a good working team and be surrounded by good people because you spend more time with them than your family, which is kind of a bit
Yeah,
crazy when you think about
absolutely.
it.
And when you think about it, Alana, you're right. COVID did teach us this, right? Because we were all working separate to each other. And now, and since COVID, we've been able to work remotely a whole lot more because we know we can. And so your soft skills really come in there, because how do you keep a team communicating and working well as a cohesive, highly effective team unless you have those soft skills? And
100%.
everybody feels included. So there is this wonderful, and if you can all go and research this later because it's all over the internet, and I have facilitated it many times with my teams over the years, is the fish philosophy. So the fish philosophy comes from the pike markets in Seattle, where they throw smelly Atlantic salmon around the place, and it's really smelly and it's wet and it's damp. And it was a place that was going to go under. They were going to lose their business. And they decided that they would, the workers themselves went, how do we keep our jobs? How do we keep this alive? And we've got no money to do it. So they came up with a philosophy. And one of those was really important, was make their day, make someone's day. So they throw a fish at a customer to make them included into what's going on. And it absolutely makes their day. When I was there, they threw a fish at me, I hid, but that doesn't matter.
No, that's wonderful.
And it's including play as well. You need to enjoy what you're doing. And that's part of being a highly effective team.
100%. And what happens, in your opinion, in a workplace when those soft skills are missing?
You don't work well, and so you don't meet your deadlines.
Yeah.
Or you meet your deadlines and it's not the right job. It's not the right work because the communication's not there. But 99% of the time, you will not hit your deadlines.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it contributes to it can contribute to a bad work culture, conflict.
Absolutely.
When you don't know how to communicate or, express yourself and everything too.
And you go home unhappy.
Yeah.
Every single day. I've been in workplaces over my career that the culture is not great, and you go home every single day unhappy. And that's not a nice place to be, because my job as a manager is to make sure you go home the same way as you came in that morning, and that's physically and emotionally. So that's really important. I think emotionally is sometimes more important than the physical part, because you can work with a sprained ankle or a sprained toe, but you can't work with a sprained mind.
That's so true. So how we're going to run this session today, because there is so many soft skills included and they're all so valuable, we're going to kind of deep dive into a few of the key ones that are really relevant for the tech industry. And we're going to talk about different scenarios and kind of pull from Mel's experience in this space as well. And then our last kind of section of this event is talking about how to demonstrate your soft skills in an interview. So how can you kind of show them how great your skills are when it's in a kind of question scenario kind of thing. So communication. Now, this is probably the key one. I think this is probably the biggest one of them all. Now, Mel, to you, what is communication skills?
So it's not just verbal communication skills, it's being able to send an email that clearly defines, and it doesn't have to be a long email. I am not a fluffy word email writer. I am clear and concise, and that's I have 4,000 unread emails in my inbox, so that's how many emails a day I get. So when it comes to it, I need clear and concise. So it doesn't have to be fluffy, but it's being able to communicate clearly what the message is. And the message is this: I need this by this date with this resource. So it's being able to do that into the right people, or to as many people that need to know. If they don't need to know, don't give it to them, because again, it'll just end up with an unread email. But it is that clear, concise message. I need this at this time to be successful by this time, and this is the impact of me not meeting that deadline.
Yeah. It's really with that clear messaging, it's exactly communicating exactly your needs or the issue or something there. When I Google it, I've kind of gotten like ability to use your words to best relate, explaining or discussing a situation to another person, can also be speaking up when you don't understand something, can be reading social cues, can be expressing yourself, and also active listening, which I think is a big one as well.
Absolutely. So they're the things that, again, I'll draw back to the things that you can control. And this is another thing, if you haven't heard of it, you can go and Google. It's called the sphere of influence. So you can you can influence the things that you're concerned about with the things that you control. And the only things that you can control is you. And in that is how you communicate. So what you say, when you say it, how you say it. So they're all things of communication. It's not just words. It's not just words on a piece of paper. It is how you say it and the way you look at people when you're saying it. If I was sitting here with a big frown on my face and being grumpy and having a really loud voice and being very slow and direct, then my communication is quite poor.
Yeah.
Sometimes that may be required. It depends on the situation. So it's being able to use, again, what you can control. So those listening ears to go, this is what's required in that situation. And this is how to apply what I can control.
That's brilliant. And if we've got a lot of wonderful international students on here where English might not be their first language. So if communication skills are something they're nervous with or not sure how to approach and things, how would you think that they can practice this skill? And how can they start implementing it at uni or in their job?
Literally, practice with a friend, practice on your own, or go, I keep on forgetting the name of it. There is a group of people that do speeches.
Toastmasters.
That's them, Alana.
Yeah.
Great. If you are a person that has some fear about speaking in front of people, Toastmasters is a great way to get out of it and get over it. They build you up. You go in slowly, and they slowly build you up into doing these big, wonderful speeches to a whole lot of people. And it's a wonderful environment. That they are they're very empathetic because they know a lot of people have joined them because of the same reasons, and it's like having a big hug. I've done a couple of sessions with them myself. They've been wonderful.
It's such a great program to do. And like you said, practice with your friends. I always think it's funny to practice with your parents. So I don't know about everyone else's parents, but my parents are definitely not tech savvy at all. So I think it's a good way to practice is, teaching them, trying to talk to them about what you're studying at uni or, your project or what you're
Yeah,
working at work, but practicing talking about it to somebody who has no idea what you're talking about. So it's a
yeah,
good way to kind of
absolutely.
then be able to implement that at work and talking to a client because they're not going to understand your tech language either.
Absolutely, Alana. And it's if you can teach somebody what you've learned, then you retain it.
Yeah.
I call that a bit of tactile learning, although you're not actually touching anything, but you're teaching somebody what you've just learned or the job that you're doing. It stays in your head a whole lot easier than it is by just reading it from a book or learning it from a facilitator. So if you can explain to somebody and they get it, you go,
Mm.
hey, I've got that. It's all in my head now. I'm good to go.
It's so true. And I guess like another way, like it's actually the next topic for our next career webinar series session, but how to network. But for this kind of scenario, communication, because it can be daunting talking to professionals. Like I still get a little nervous myself. Like
Yeah, you
come
and
to
me both.
events. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it ever leaves. I think it's
No,
always nerve-wracking. But if communication is something new to you and you really want to practice it, come to events and put yourself out there out of your comfort zone and come say hello to like Mel at an event and, shake her hand and, you can always kind of disclose, hey, I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm putting myself out there, which is it gets easier doing that.
it does. And like I said, I've been in the industry for a very, very long time, and I still get nerves even getting up and presenting in front of my peers. I still get nervous. So it's okay.
Yeah, it's
It is
okay.
natural. No one's judging you.
No. Now, with this skill, when it comes to diversity in working teams, why is communication skills so important?
Because everybody has a different background. So when you have a highly effective working team, everybody in that team has a different background. They have gone to different schools. They have come from different countries. They have come from different states and towns. So I know us Queenslanders have different sayings to those South Australian people. You know, a pie with peas does not live in pea soup. It's not a pie and pea soup, people. It's peas on a pie. And a jumper is not a pullover here in Queensland. So it's very different. And I know, Alana, I'm a whole lot older than you, but a port was a school bag when I was a kid.
There we go.
You know, we were a port. In Queensland, we carried a port to school, not a school bag.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody's got different language and different backgrounds, and that makes a really highly effective team because that gives different thought. And being able to bring up your different thought and say, hey, I've got a different idea, can make things really effective, really efficient inside that team, and being able to ask why. But that's the most important question anybody can ask. Why do we do it that way? And if someone says, because we've always done it, wrong answer.
Yep.
Completely wrong answer. So that's why communication is really important in highly effective working teams, is because it challenges. And so they come up with different ideas and it challenges the normal, and they become more economical and they win new business. That's how you win new business. That's how businesses and companies stay alive.
It's so true. And it can be quite surprising when you first get your first job. I remember going to uni and it was funny. I was a mature age student, but I was 21. I was somehow the oldest one in my class. And it was so weird. And then I got my first job in corporate, and I found it so strange to be surrounded by people in their 50s and 60s, you know, or different from different backgrounds and levels of experience. And I found it quite weird to almost like make friends. I think my work bestie was in her 60s, and it was a bit of adjustment, but that's what happens when you do join into a working team. They can be of all different genders and ages and everything. And that's where your communication skills comes in.
That's right, because work is ageless, right? It's in a team, it's ageless. You know, defense is a little bit different where they've got a hierarchy, but in a team where your managers managing, they're doing their thing, but your team, it's ageless. There is no hierarchy. You're all a team member, and that's the whole point of when we interview and we're looking for team fit. You know, everybody is an individual leader. You know, there is no one person out the front of each team. Everybody's an individual leader. They all have their own geniuses. And this is something I talked to Alana about the other day. There is no weaknesses and strengths in teams. That is a thing of the past. That is a term and a methodology of the past. It is everybody has their own genius. And it's understanding that you need people in a team that are ideas people. You need that, and I need that because I'm a doer. I could get so much work done. I go, let's get it done, and I actually see it through to completion, but it's not the right stuff. Right? I've just put us on a tangent that has just lost us time and money. You know, I've got those guys at the front end that sit there going, whoa, hold up, Mel, we haven't explored all of our options yet, you know, and then then we've got the people that go, yeah, that's great, so let's solutionize. We've got all our options on the table, we need to solutionize, and then hand it over to me to do the doing. You know, you need those people, and they all have a different genius. It's not a weakness that they're not the doers. That's not a weakness. They've got their own strength. They've moved their own genius, I should say. They've already moved on to the next problem to solve. And that's a great thing because I'm doing the do. They can get on to the next thing to solve to give me the job to do the do. I'm good with that. So we've got to get our minds out of that strengths and weaknesses. We've all got a different genius. And I think I've got completely off track on you, Alana.
No, I think that's brilliant. I think it's a really positive way of looking at it, that yeah, we don't have strengths and weaknesses. It's not something that, weaknesses is so negative, but it's everyone has their skill set that they're better at. So I think, kind of summarizing it that way is a lot nicer than, weaknesses and it being a bad thing. We're just all really
Yeah,
great at something in the workplace, and
it's
that's what makes a great team.
we got a really good question. I'm sorry, it's
Oh,
just caught up in my eye here. Any tips on how to start an icebreaker conversation? So that's a great question. Oh my goodness, is that a great question? So really hard thing to do, right? Extremely hard thing to do. But this is where your emotional intelligence comes in. And if you haven't heard of the term emotional intelligence, and I'm going to read you the definition. It is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions as well as the emotions of others. So that is understanding the room. Have you ever heard of read the room?
yeah.
So when you come into a team, you sit back and you listen and you watch. And as a manager, right, and I've taken over a team of 67 people. So I inherited I didn't build that team, I inherited them. And so what I needed to do was use my emotional intelligence to see how they ticked. And I have sat with my direct reports and I've gone, okay, so what gets you out of bed? And that's maybe a weird term, and it's not a question you can ask everybody up front, but understanding what makes them come to work. Is it money? Is it they are passionate about what they do? Is it a mixture of both? You know, it, and by understanding that, you can start with the okay. So I'm going to, and I call it manipulation, and it's not the right word to use, but I can use that if someone wants to, all they care about is money, that's okay. Because I can use that to go, well, I'm going to give you some extended goals because I know that you're going to reach for those extended goals and get that work done to get a great report at the end of the year so you get a really good pay rise. And then there's someone that's passionate, you're going, okay, so I'm going to extend them again, but in the things that they're passionate about. It's understanding what part of the industry that they're passionate about and feeding them down that way.
Mm,
And so this is where you use your emotional intelligence. So that's a really good question, is sitting back, understanding, and not just from a leadership point of view, from a manager's point of view, but going, oh, hang on, you ride mountain bikes. I really enjoy mountain bikes. Or I watched something on YouTube the other day. Is meeting those little bits of interest because people talk in offices and going, hey, I watched that on TikTok or whatever it is. You know, you can pick up little things and being able to
mm,
talk to people. In the team, I've just joined a team, very new, where I knew a couple of the people. And me being who I am, I pick on people. I have, and but in a kind way. And I also I bring people donuts for their birthdays. It's a show of love, and but it's just who I am. It's
yeah,
being not being something that you're not. Do not ever try to be something that you're not. Be your authentic self always, because that is very stressful for yourself and it's tiring, and you don't want to not be your authentic self. Being something that you're
100%.
not is just, it's exhausting.
Yeah, 100%. Now, before we move
And you
on to
get,
the next skill, oops, sorry,
yeah,
Mel.
sorry, go. And I was going to say, and you get seen through. People
Oh,
see
yes,
that you're not being authentic.
100%. And there's no one like you either, so be you because.
Exactly.
Now, before we move on from communication, because this is the kind of key one here, I'm going to come up with a bit of a scenario. So, say I'm new to a role, I've just started, and someone is asking me a question. I mean, this kind of situation happens in any scenario, so don't think about it just as you're starting. But say somebody's asking me a question and I don't know the answer. How would you use your communication skills to respond?
and I do this every single meeting that I am in. I can honestly say this. And I learned this skill in the last, say, 8 years of my career, is to say, I don't know, because it's okay that you don't know. I don't know, but I will go and find out how, and get back to you. How would you like me to get back to you? And is there anybody else that you would like me to communicate to as well?
Yeah, being that like accountable as well, like following up, go
Absolutely.
find out. Because particularly when you're starting out, but even in my role, like as a manager, there's like plenty of things I don't know, and it's okay to say I don't know. It's better than trying to fluff and make something up because they know as well. So I
Yeah,
think
and
it's
if you
okay
need a
to
little,
own it.
yeah, and if you need a little bit of time because you think you may know, go, great question, well asked. Yep, I don't know. No, I don't know.
Yeah,
You know,
but communicating
always,
that like let me get back to you though, like
yeah,
following it
absolutely.
up.
Always.
Yeah,
It's
it's an
really,
important one.
and hold up to that and make sure you do get back to that person, because the next time, if you don't, the next time you say it, you've lost that trust.
Definitely. Now, questions quickly come through. We'll quickly do this question and we're going to have to move on. But this is a great one. So, when is it better to be right versus to be kind when communicating? That's a really good question.
It is a really good question, and I have used my stalling tactic there to get my thoughts. It depends on the situation. So sometimes you just have to be directive. There is sometimes where there are time constraints and the impacts are so high that you have to just go, I need you to do it, and I need you to do it this way, and I need you to do it now. It's you don't have to be nasty. There is no point in any situation in the workplace that you have to be nasty. Um, but there is sometimes where the kindness and the fluff is just not required. And because that's not naturally who I am, when I am directive, my team will go, oh, hang on, we really need to do this. And so it's situational. And so that's it. That is simple as it is. It's completely situational, and it's okay as long as you're not rude or inappropriate to your audience. It is okay to be directive.
100%. And like you said, there's a big difference between being nasty or rude and direct. And that skill set is a hard one and can take time to understand how to be direct without being offensive and things. But that's where things like having a mentor and stuff can help as well, helping you learn that difference as well. Now we might move on to collaboration and teamwork. So when I Googled it, it came up with working well with a diverse team, contributing to group projects, sharing knowledge, supporting colleagues. So Mel, why is this soft skill so important to collaborating and being a successful part of the team?
So going back to that highly effective working team, right? Unless you are a very diverse team and it's not just gender, you need to have difference in genders, difference in backgrounds, differences in experience, differences in age groups, because that changes your experience and your exposure. Um, and and so that by having all of that and different geniuses, by having all of that, you can have this great output. You all do different things and you all collaborate. When we're talking about collaboration, it's like little cogs in a wheel. We have the little cogs all fit. And that's, I'm doing this, you're doing this to get this. You know, it's A, B to get three. It's the way it works. And so what you don't want, like I said, you don't want all people like me, because you would have a
Mm.
crazy workforce. You would have this person that comes in the morning, goes, good morning. And I just hear my team go, oh, she's here. But then a couple of weeks later, after me doing that, I walk in and go, good morning. And they all go, good morning, Miss Mel.
But that's a great contribution to culture, though. Like you've now
Right.
made that team, you've probably made somebody's day or morning by being like that.
Exactly. So this is, but not everybody needs to be like me. Sometimes it's you need other people that are a little bit more level-headed than what I am and not so up all the time and can level things out. That's how a highly effective working team is, that it works and gets those outputs that are required by our customers and by our business. We've got to think of, what does our customer need? What does our business need? And then what do I need?
Mm-hmm.
I need that. I need to be to walk in the morning, and no matter what has happened in my life of outside of work, when I turn up in the morning, I need to be that person that leaves it all behind and walks in the door and goes, "Good morning." That's
Yeah.
what I need. So understanding what you need, what your people need, what your team needs to get through. And sometimes it's food. Sometimes
Yes.
it's that chocolate cake,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes it's lollies. Sometimes it's a puzzle. I had a team that we became very quick, we got larger very quickly, and we were doing all our own things and getting an outcome, but we weren't doing it so effectively and efficiently. So I got us a puzzle. I got us a round table in our cubicle farm there and got us a puzzle. And so we would, for 10 minutes every day, we would turn around, do the puzzle and talk about what we were doing. And others go, "Oh, I did that 2 weeks ago. Oh, if you did it this, and this way," and off you
Yeah.
go. It's learning from others' experiences. Or I did that 10 years ago on another program, and this is the way that we did it. I'm not saying it's the right way, but how about we give it a crack?
Yeah.
And that's how you learn from others. Learning from others, exposure and experience. I can't emphasize exposure and experience sometimes more importantly than education, because as
Mm.
engineers, the things that they learn in their degree, they use about 5% of it in the real world.
Yeah.
So experience and exposure is far more outweighs anything. And so I've learned most of my stuff from listening to others, talking to others, going, "Hey, Greg, what are you working on? I've never done that before. I've never seen that before. Can you show me?" And I've learned something today. I could go home. I'm good to go because I've learned something. And if I don't learn something, I hop on to an online work portal and I get in and I find a short class to do, a course to do, and I do that. And then
That's
I can go,
great.
"Oh, I learned this last week," and tell my team. That's what it's about, is communicating and talking to your team, because they may not have known that either.
Yeah.
And you've just learnt a new skill inside your team that gets you the output. I can't emphasize that anymore. Everything that we do when it comes to soft skills and technical skills, they come together to get us the output for our business and our company. And yourself, you want to accomplish. People, the hardest people to manage and to lead are the people that are just treading water. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that are the people that are just there. They don't want to succeed. They don't even really care what they do in a day. They don't really care whether they accomplish anything. They're just there until they retire. And they are the hardest people to manage because they really don't care about the money either. They don't care. They're just treading
Yeah.
water.
Yeah. And I guess when it comes to a team as well, and we might pop this in the post-event email, it's good to understand your role within the team. I remember when I
Yes.
did my degree, my last assignment was doing the Myers-Briggs self-assessment. And it taught me that in a team setting, I actually sit back and I let the big characters, try and nut out the problem or, go for it. And then once they come stuck or they can't agree, then I come in and
Because that's
learning
your
that about
genius.
myself. That's my genius, you know, and
Exactly.
it was good to understand that about myself. So that way, if somebody said, why aren't you speaking up, Alana? Like, you know, be part of the team, I could explain, I am part of the team. I'm listening, I'm observing, I'm soaking it all up. But my skill set is I will come and tell you, kind of summarize what you've discussed, and then tell you my thoughts. So we'll hyperlink that in the post event email because I think that's really good to understand how your
Yeah.
behavior
And
is as
also
well.
if you can find the widget one as well, Alana,
Yeah, we'll pop
because
those in.
that's the
That's,
geniuses. And there's a great
yeah,
TED talk about the widget as well, and it explains the guy that wrote what the widget is and come up with the assessment. He and I can't remember his name, I'm so sorry, but he talks about how he was so frustrated, and he was a founder of this business, and he would get so frustrated at these people that were still making up ideas when he just wanted to get in and get it done.
yeah,
And now that he understands everybody's geniuses within his team, he doesn't get frustrated anymore. And that's
brilliant.
so important because that's your mental health as you're going home.
100%. Now we're going to move on to the next one. We've got quite a few to go through, but what is problem solving and different skill sets included to be good at problem solving? So when I looked at this one, it said critical thinking, creative solutions, breaking down complex issues, and analytical approach. So yeah,
I'd
what's kind of
also
your
like
thoughts
to,
on this one?
that's very technical. Okay,
Yeah,
that's a very technical way of understanding what problem solving. So problem solving from a soft skills point of view is these things right here, and it's those ears and being able to listen, not to hear and respond, but to listen and understand. Problem solving is understanding what the actual problem is itself. And in soft skills, you can't solve somebody's problem. It is about being understanding, being empathetic, and going, I am here to support you. You tell me what you need, and I will be here to help you. I will try and break down barriers to get what you need. That's what problem solving is in a soft skills. It's like you said, the definition that you said was very, very technical.
mm,
That is how you solve a technical problem, is that analytical thought. Literally, it is listening and to understand and to be empathetic.
yeah. And I think it even goes back to that first scenario we talked about. When a problem arises, you're not expected to know on the dot the answer. It's okay to say,
No.
can I take that away and have a think and stew about it? Because sometimes when you walk away from your desk or, you know, have a conversation with a colleague or go home for the night, you have time to think about it as well, which can be good to
Yeah.
get that
Or,
break.
or go and do some research.
Well, that's
That's the
actually
other
my next
thing.
question is how important is continuously learning and development valuable when it comes to learning how to problem solve in the workplace?
Really important. Like I said to you, I learn all the time. So when I'm talking about your geniuses, I knew about it. I knew about the concept. And like I said to you before, you know, we all talked about weaknesses and strengths about 10 years ago, 10 or 5 or 10 years ago. Um, but I did some mentoring circles last year, which I facilitated, and I learned all about this widget and about your geniuses. And I've gone, oh, that's actually putting the methodology to something that I actually knew. I already knew. And also with an open and closed mindset. You know, I knew that they existed and what they basically were, but we did this whole program on it, and I went, oh, there's a whole method to it all. So that is so important to go, I've got an issue. Or I've got a problem. Can I go and do the research and find out I think I know how to fix it, or I
Mm.
know what to do about it? Because do you ever actually fix problems? They always exist. You just mitigate them, right? So you just put little things in place, or you do little things to fix to make it better. But, you go off and you do that research and learn more and more, because there's a more modern way of doing something. I did leadership courses 20 odd years ago that they're not relevant anymore. It's a different time. We are all different people. COVID, like you said, changed us as a species. Every single person in the world was affected by COVID.
Yeah.
So it has changed us as human beings. And so there's new ways of learning and problem solving.
Now, we've had a really good question come through. Robert's asked, so when in a job advertisement, is it software skills or technical skills when it's referring to problem solving?
So it depends. It honestly depends on the question.
Yeah.
So, like my business, your resume is your technical. Everything on your resume tells me what you technically do. And then when we interview you, it is all on your soft skills. It's on your behavioural. It's how you fit within teams, you meet our values of our business. So modern businesses like ours, have values. And they're just not words that are on a wall, on a poster somewhere. They are things that we live and breathe. One of ours, and most important to me, is you do the right thing. And that's
Definitely.
not about doing the right thing when you're being watched. It's about doing the right thing even when somebody's not watching. So it's so important.
Exactly.
Yes, I knew what you
important.
meant, Robert. I knew what you meant about
Yeah.
soft skill. All is good.
There's two different skill sets there, but yeah,
absolutely.
perfect.
So your resume is your technical skills. The interview itself is your soft skills.
Now we might kick on to probably another one of the big ones, time management. So this is a really important one, and I mean, even I think it takes years to really kind of conquer this one. But what are different tools to support being great at time management?
So there's several. You can use your Outlook calendar. You can use Project. You can use so many different online software that you can use, that you guys would have so much more idea of it than I do. Me, I use my diary, right? It is in my face, and I literally, everything I write down that I've got a to-do list, and if I don't get it done today, it gets added to the to-do list for tomorrow. However, the most important thing about time management is communication. We all have a customer, okay? And when my customer, 99% of the time is my boss, it says to me, Mel, I need you to get this done by such and such a date at such and such a time, and I can't do it, I need to tell him early. I need to tell him I am not going to get that done. And he's going to go, okay, well, the impacts of you not getting that done by that time and that date, on that date at that time, is we can't go past it. The impacts are too high. We then plan around resources. So this is why time management and communication are so important, is knowing you're not going to meet that deadline, communicating that. Your boss or your customer then goes, here are more resources, here is more money, here is whatever to make you successful, to enable you to be successful. Strips other work away from me. He does that all the time. He goes, oh, forget about doing that today. Worry about that next week, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's time management is based on communication, understanding when is it required, why is it required, and who do I need to communicate? Who are my stakeholders in this task? They are the three big things that you need to understand and work with. How you do it, how you prioritize your work, How you physically do it is either whether it's in a book or it's electronically is up to you. If it comes to time management, you've got two priorities. If my boss does this all the time, like I said, he comes to me and I'm working on something and I've got a deadline, then he shoves another priority at me. And I go, what do you want me to do? That's his job. That's why he gets the big dollars. You say, I am not going to be successful with either of those if I have to do both. You tell me which one's more important. That's his job.
That's his job, exactly. And Carlos has popped through a question, how do you balance urgent tasks versus important tasks? And that's something you talk to your manager about. It's their kind of role to help you,
That's right.
prioritize. And that's where you use your communication skills to talk to them and be like, you told me this is urgent, but this is really important. Help me understand which one comes first.
And they are two different things. What people don't understand is that urgent and important are two different things because they have two different impacts. And understanding the impacts of not being successful or not having something done by a certain date is the most important thing.
Definitely. Now we might move on to adaptability. So when I looked it up, it said embracing change, learning new technologies, flexibility with processing, handling uncertainty. Mel, is changing circumstances common in the workplace?
Yes, all the time. It happens every single day. Priorities change every single day. When you've got a customer like the one that I have and we have, when I talk about the customer, I'm talking about a capability. So if we are unable to provide that capability or if that capability is unserviceable, then our priorities change. So it's having a bit of resilience and being able to go, I can park that because the impacts of that not being done right now are not important. Yes, they're urgent, but they're not important. So they can just sit over here to the minute. I'm going to work on that very urgent, that very important task that needs to be done. And being able to park it, go and work on something else, and then come back to that. This is where your task management is really, really important. And whatever system it is that your company or you use, being able to document what you do. So this is a term that that I've learned over the last couple of years is being comfortable in the uncomfortable. Okay, and that's about not everybody can just put something off and step to the next job. They've got to have some closure go on. So that's that uncomfortable zone. And it takes a little bit of time and learning for some people. And that's okay. To understand that it's okay, that it may take you a little bit of time. But again, communicate that you're struggling. I'm struggling to just drop that and shift onto the next task or onto another task. Can you please help me? This is that. And if you don't have it, you don't feel comfortable to do that either, find somebody that you do feel comfortable with in your team and have that conversation.
100%, because change happens a lot. Workplaces go through structural change, digital transformation changes, new systems, new people. It like I'm someone that takes a little bit with change, and it can be taxing, it can be stressful, but I think it's like understanding within yourself, are you someone who has to go for a walk and clear your mind, or are you someone who wants to understand the change more and might do some research? Like, it is unfortunately just part of the beast, really. And like you said, it can be uncomfortable, but you got to get comfy with it.
Yeah. I used to go for a run every day and I hate running, but it was the only way I could switch my brain off for 20 minutes because my brain couldn't do any more than put one foot in front of the other and breathe. That's how much I hate running. So that's why I used to do it, just so I could switch my brain off. And sometimes that's exactly what you need, is to go into your own little space for 10 minutes and go, okay, what do I need to do to close that off to start the next? But communicate. Because someone will see you go and take 10 minutes space for yourself and go, What are you doing?
Yeah.
We've just been given an urgent task, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand that. I just need 10 minutes to get my brain around it, and then I'll be okay.
100%.
Communicate.
Communication, and I think you'll hear it all through this is the key. So let's move on to growth mindset, and then we've got questions about the interview process. So what is a growth mindset?
So growth mindset is, the old terms are open mindset and closed mindset, right? So growth mindset is you are open, you are willing to grow. You are willing to listen, use these things that are right here, to understand the experiences and the exposures of others so you actually grow your own experiences and exposures. That's exactly what it is. I know you probably have a really good definition, but that's in Mel terms. That's what a growth mindset is.
No, I think I like yours better, to be honest. What I had was continuously learning, accepting feedback, resilience, and self-improvement. But I think I like your version better. Now we might move on because I think this is going to be really important. So how do you demonstrate soft skills and abilities in an interview? So I like how you've said that the resume displays all the technical stuff. And in the interview is really when they're going to test unconsciously, sometimes test those soft skills. So
Absolutely.
what you've shared some really great questions that your workplace asks, but I'd love to understand, like, why as a person recruiting somebody, why do you find these questions so important?
So number one is team fit. You know, we want to understand, and here's the biggest advice that I can ever give anybody doing an interview is, if they ask you a closed question where they expect a one word or a sentence, give them a scenario. You know, if they say, how would you react in a conflict? You go, so in one of my jobs, I had a conflict with an individual, this and this and this happened, this is what I did, and this was the outcome. That to me tells me straight away you've had that experience, you have, and exactly how you handled it, whether it was right or wrong, and this was the outcome and what you learned from it. If it was wrong or even if it was right, what you actually learned from that experience. You know, I've had individuals interview with me that have not had that experience, but said, you know, if I was ever in that situation, this is how I would handle it. And I would hope that this would be the outcome, that the desired out, and this would be the desired outcome. So that is telling me straight up that that person is thinking with those soft skills, has that emotional intelligence to go, well, this is what I would hope to react in that situation.
That's great. And I think these kind of questions, I'm going to read some of Mel's because I think they're wonderful. I think you can never fully, like, come prepared with some scenarios, but these questions, you're never fully prepared for them. So it is good to come with scenarios, but it's also okay to have a moment and just go, actually, I'm just going to think about it and think about it before you tell them a story, because you want it to make sure it comes across correctly as well. And I'm going to say it with this question here, because I think this is a really great question, but it can go badly. Describe a situation where you've observed someone treat another person disrespectfully or behave unprofessionally in the workplace. What did you do and what was the results? I think that question is so good, but can go so wrong. Do you have suggestions on, like, that particular one? Like, how can you talk about a scenario without, like, completely throwing someone under the bus or, looking like I'd love to get your thoughts on that question.
That one is particularly hard to answer if you're going for a promotion. And I've done that. I've been in my business, in my company now for 12 years, and I've had 7 different roles. So I've had 7 different internal, 7? I may have even been 8. I think it was, anyway, internal interviews. And you get that question, right? Because that's showing what they're drawing out there is your individual leadership. Okay, and doing the right thing. Is that attached to that behavioural value?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes, it is actually the title. We do the right thing.
Correct. So, and how you answer that, is literally draw on your own experience, and which I've fortunate or unfortunately throughout my business, is you don't use names ever in an interview.
Yeah.
You never say, well, Sam over here in the corner the other day said this and I thought it was inappropriate. So, I told him to shove off. That's not the way you deal with it. Okay? It's I intervened.
Yep.
Someone said something inappropriate in my team or in earshot of me. I intervened. I then asked that person to come and speak to me in a closed office, had a conversation. If you're a manager, if you're another team worker, you go, I intervened, asked them to stop, went and saw a manager. That is simple as that. And then the outcome of that should be that manager has gone to HR, they've done an investigation, and I don't know the outcomes because, I wasn't involved. I wasn't one of the two people involved.
Yeah.
Done and dusted.
So I'll read some other questions that I think we can really link to some of the skills we've talked about tonight. So you've got a great question saying, competing strategy priorities in an organization can be a major obstacle to success. Describe a time when you've had to manage competing strategic priorities. Now, we've talked about this skill, and I hope the ones online can see the link here, but we're talking about time management here, and also problem solving. So it's quite interesting with the way, think about when they're asking these questions, they're talking about, describe a time when I've had to manage competing strategies. And it's like, oh, that's time management, managing my time there. I think these questions are really good. And then you link them to your soft skills rather than going too technical always. Absolutely. There. And then I love these other questions. This one I really, resonate again is, some people's trust is more difficult to earn than others. Tell me about someone whose trust was difficult for you to earn, and how did you do it? And I think that's another great one where it's, again, don't drop names because it can be a small world. But I think it's really good to be able to draw out your communication skills there and
your emotional intelligence, right? This is understanding where that other person comes from. Why do they not trust you? And understand that. And so your emotional intelligence, which includes your empathy, and going, sometimes it's a matter of a conversation with that person going, I understand, and I so realize that what I did or that situation has caused you to not trust me, but please give me a chance.
Yeah. And then I love this last question is, tell me about a time when you championed or acknowledged the abilities of one of your peers. I think that's such a beautiful question, and really talks about, championing each other, being part of a team, but really celebrating others and contributing to that work culture.
We should always celebrate the little wins. I'm telling you, the little wins are more important than the big wins because other people will recognize those. So you as a team should recognize each other when it comes to the little wins. Go, hey, I got through the day. Hey. Sometimes that's needed when you're in a big project and you're on really hard times. Sometimes celebrating accomplishing something that day is needed. Do the little wins.
100%. I think when you do start working with a team in a workplace, I think you really start to see that people have different, everyone has lives outside of work. And I think work can be such a good or bad thing in someone's life. So what I love about these questions, Mel, and I think the culture you've built at your work is you make it as positive as possible, because everyone has stuff going on in their lives. And I think that's a big part of being about a team is, you might get frustrated with someone or, you're just on two different communication levels, but remembering that they're people by the end of the day and you don't want it to be negative.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's something that you really champion really quite well in your workplace, Mel, and I think it's a wonderful thing.
And the ability to have that culture that if you are having a bad day, to say to somebody, listen, I'm having a really bad day, so I'm going to shut my door, you know, and that be okay. No one's going to beat you up for that. No one's going to go, oh, really? Mel's door's shut again.
Mm.
You know, because it's okay.
And that's where those communication skills really come into play, and building that rapport and being a team player that, you can say that, if you've had something, I had a family thing last year, and I said to people around me, hey, I'm going through a little bit of a rough patch with my family members, if I'm not 100%, please, bear with me. And I was so lucky to be really well supported because I communicated it. And you don't have to overshare, you don't have to tell everyone your life story, but
That's right.
It's nice to be able to build that culture where you can go, hey, mate, I've got your back kind of thing as well. And you do that for other people.
Yeah, and then it comes back to you in spades, when those types of things happen. Very similar, Alana, I had a death very close to me. And I had workmates turn up and put food in my fridge, and I didn't even know that I hadn't eaten for 3 days. That's the type of business. And I didn't have family or close friends do that. That was workmates that did that. So that's the type of business you want to be in, because people make a business. Yeah, you've got to have the tech there, and you've got to be. That's one of our things is being an innovator. Innovation is big, so that's really important because you don't make money, but you can't be innovative and you can't produce without good people. Highly effective teams are because of the people. If we aren't just robots, we aren't numbers, we are people. Look after your people, businesses thrive.
Exactly. Now we have run over time. So please note for those ones dropping off, it is recorded. Now I've got one last question and then I'll go into the wrap up. Mel, what is kind of your probably, I guess, favorite, but what is the soft skill you've used most in your career to get where you are today?
Big question.
Yeah.
I think my communication, to be honest, it's well, they all tie in together. They really do.
Yeah.
They all tie in together. I am very empathetic, and I communicate with my people. But I'm so close. So it was such a hard question because they all roll in together. My emotional intelligence, I think it's by being I communicate well authentically, but I think it's my emotional intelligence, being able to sit with my people and talk to them and understand how they tick, talk to them about their families. I've got workers, and I shouldn't call them workers. I've got team members that I started working with 7 years ago, that I was at his wedding, and then his son calls me auntie. Another, I went to his graduation. I had an intern, and his parents bought me a ticket to his university graduation. I was so honoured. That is where I am. That's being my authentic self is the most important thing to me. I did cry, but let's not go there. At his graduation, it was very bad. And they even put me in their family professional photos. How cute are these people?
No, it is wonderful how much work people can become your friends for life. And, obviously there's a lot to that. There's a lot of boundaries and lines and stuff, but it can be special.
Having that rapport with people, being able to, when I don't know, I know someone that knows.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be able to reach out and go, hey, I'm not duck shoving this onto you, but can you tell me how I get this done? And because I've got a customer going with a question.
Yeah.
Tell me how I can get it done.
No, brilliant. Thank you so much, Mel, for your time tonight. It's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. And I think, like we said, I think we could make this webinar hours long because there's so much more to dive into there. But thank you so much for your valuable time and insights.
It's been my pleasure. You're so welcome. And please reach out if there is any other questions, or you want to talk about anything, or do find out some more research. Please let me know, and I can send you in the right direction.
Wonderful. And we'll pop your email address in the post-event email as well. So thank you so much. Before everyone goes, we've got a few little things to catch you up on. So if you want to practice those communication skills and kind of team building and meeting new people, we do have what we call our ACS Emerging Professional Community. So in each state, we have community groups that are dedicated to students, graduates, and emerging professionals, where you can come together and meet other people, you can practice your communication skills, and then you'll also hear about our latest events and benefits as well. When we touch on our benefits here, we've got a great array of ones that are really tailored for our students and graduates. So you've got their Zenva, where it's 30% off our AI programming and game creation subscription, some really great courses there to check out. Pearson, which I'll touch on more in a moment, 20% off technical and professional publications. So if you're about to start a new semester and you're looking for you're having to purchase your books and online learning, really take advantage of that discount there. It's really valuable and so many great resources. You've also got courses there for Lumify, Global Future Education, and Dynamic Web Training. That Global Futures one, if you're interested in kind of like climate change technology, these courses are really wonderful to have a look at. So as I touched on, Pearson's a really important one right now, so make sure you have a look on what's available. When we talked about earlier about really keeping on top of your professional development, these online resources and books are really valuable. So check out what's available in the discount code there, and we'll pop it in the post-event email as well. We've also got our online learning accelerator. This one holds over 35,000 short courses and certifications. I'm going to quickly share my screen. I was having a look earlier. And there's actually a whole career conversation part dedicated to these kind of skills and conversations. So we'll pop this in the post-event email. There's one there called Communication Essentials, so you can kind of continuously understand how valuable those skill sets are, and establishing a really positive work culture, because that's something that everyone contributes to. Now we've got the next one, making the most out of your student membership. So I'll be running through all the great benefits in more details and demonstrating how to use them on our website. This one's obviously free for everyone to attend, so feel free to join me for that one online on the 17th of March. We've got the next Career Toolkit webinar series edition will be how to network your way to success. I'll be interviewing Noah, who's one of our emerging professionals, and Bo Tid, who's our past immediate chair with one of our boards. And they're going to talk about how to share tips to network for introverts, how to approach someone for the first time, how to follow up and really kind of foster that relationship in the professional sense. So really important one to come along to. And we'll pop these links in your post-event email as well. Now, feel free to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Happy to also connect on my personal LinkedIn if you have any questions. But this is how you find about all our upcoming events and initiatives. And we really want to thank you for attending. Thank you for, I know we've run over time here, but thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your feedback. It helps us shape topics for the future. And thank you again, Mel, for joining us. We really appreciate it.